Dr. Kim, I've worked with many behaviour analysts in the field that say that precision teaching should only be used once kids meet traditional mastery criteria in like a discrete trial instruction program. What's your feedback on that?
Well, the notion that precise measurement systems only apply to skills that are already learned is very strange to me. Because again, that's just, I think, a profound misunderstanding about what precision teaching is. Yeah. Just like ABA, applied behavior analysis has now become synonymous with discrete trials and teaching, which is completely incorrect. Discrete trials teaching is not applied behavior analysis. The same applies to precision teaching, which has now become kind of synonymous with fluency-based instruction, which is absolutely not the case. So although fluency is how we talk about mastery, that's actually a term that was introduced by Carl Binder into precision teaching as a way to make it understandable to parents and teachers, because people kind of understand what fluency means in the vernacular, automatic, effortless, second nature responding. So unfortunately, like happens, frequently, that's kind of what's been pulled out of precision teaching, and now it's only about the fluency piece. But precision teaching is not about fluency, it's about measurement. So, the time to measure learning is the time learning's happening. So learning's happening, the moment you introduce a skill, you should be measuring behavior in a way that allows you to see what's happening. So using a lens that allows you to evaluate is the trajectory occurring at the rate at which goals are going to be met? Is the responding stable? Is it becoming more accurate? Those are all dimensions that you're able to see when you're using a precise standardized measurement tool, and you can actually see when mastery's been achieved with respect to level, with respect to stability, with respect to accuracy. So precision teaching isn't about fluency, doing practice of accurate targets. It's about measuring learning in a sensitive, reliable, manner that's based in natural science. So that's another real profound misunderstanding about what precision teaching is.
I've been in this field for approximately 10 years now, and a lot of the behaviour analysts that I work with are very aligned with using errorless instruction in their teaching. Can you give us some feedback on what your views are on errorless teaching?
Yes. So there's multiple, components to this answer. First and foremost, errorless teaching has really come out of discrete trials methods. Well, it is. It's based in discrete trials methods. So if when you're using trials-based procedures, there's the amount of learning opportunities that are provided to kids are actually quite minimal. We've personally done some analyses comparing people who actually focus on rate as a dependent measure. When you start thinking about time, rate as count per time. When you start thinking about time, you start realizing how much time you are wasting. So when you start doing work that has time as a dependent variable, as an independent variable, which it is, you realize how much more you need to, how much more practice you actually need to build into your teaching procedures. So when you have, for instance, on average per hour, our kids in our paradigms are maybe making about 250 to 300 responses, or they're having 300 opportunities to learn per hour. When you compare that to a discrete trials procedure, which is usually much less, maybe 8 times to respond in a minute. Those are very different rates. So when you have a child who's responding correctly and receiving reinforcement that many times, and the number of errors is so significantly low, which it is, when you're having the opportunity to provide reinforcement for correct responses so frequently, correct responses will naturally increase because rate is a measure of response probability. So the higher rate of correct responding you have, the higher rate it's going to be, and then the lower rate of errors. So you don't have to worry about errors when you have a ratio of corrects to errors that is so extreme as it is when your teaching procedures are defined by a measurement system like that is used in precision teaching. So that's my one answer. My other answer is that errors are actually learning opportunities, LOs. Ogg Lindsley always called them those. Just to actually put this in lay language, we learn more from our errors than we do from our corrects oftentimes. And an error is actually a really unique opportunity for a child to make a discrimination. So if a child is not ever given the opportunity to omit the non-example or the incorrect response, then they actually don't have that opportunity to make a discrimination, and it actually promotes and produces like profound levels of non-attention or inattentiveness. So when you have a child who's actually making an act of discrimination between a correct and incorrect response, because they have the opportunity to make both, you're actually producing and strengthening attending. If you have a child who's never given the opportunity to engage in the non-example, then they're simply, there's actually no requirements to attend. And there's no way to know what they're attending to. So that would be my answer, is that I think errors are a profoundly important component of learning. Yes. They're essential in producing attending, but actually producing discriminations between an example and a non-example of something. And when you're producing such high rate responding that's possible with precision teaching procedures, errors are irrelevant because your rate of reinforcement for corrects is so greatly exceeds your any errorful responding that might be occurring.
Excellent. And is it fair to say that if a child is making a lot of errors, that could be a very important message to the instructor about
Absolutely.
The instructional design of what you're teaching?
I mean, when kids are making repeated errors, the first thing I would look at is, number one, what does your component skill slice look like? Are you teaching too much at once? Or do you have a child who is profoundly inattentive? And do you actually need to train attending as a component repertoire, which, to be honest with you, when you have a teaching procedure that ignores attending as an essential component skill, which errorless teaching does, you actually don't even have an understanding of whether attending is occurring. So if you don't give the child an opportunity to make errors, you don't know if you actually need to address attending as a component skill, and I promise you do, because every child needs to learn how to attend. So letting kids make errors allows you to evaluate what's actually occurring in your teaching session.
Excellent. Thank you so much.